Gonna cover Terraspace cloud permissions in this video. To do that, we're gonna go under docs right here. And under docs, it's under cloud permissions. So this is pretty thorough documentation that kind of gives us a step-by-step guide of how to add a user, create a team, and add permission. Reviewing the permissions, using a token, then deploying everything. So I'm gonna go through this, not exactly, but I'm gonna go through it kind of as an outline. And then I'm gonna actually test with two different users. One user tongue and one user Tungaroo. And the reason I'm doing this is to kind of show you how the permission system actually works and how you can actually use it to restrict permissions based on, let's say, environment like dev and prod. The first step is to add a user to org, okay? And adding a user to org, you do it under basically the organization that you want to add the user to. That's how it works. Users belong to organizations. So I'm going to do it by going to first, let's see, this window right here where I'm logging as Tongue. So Tongue is going to be the owner of this organization demo here. I have a demo organization. You just go to users here. Then you start typing in the username, and then as long as the user exists on Terraspace Cloud, you can go type in the username there and click add user to org. Okay, now basically Tongue was just added right here. So user is now associated with the organization, this demo organization here. But it's not actually, he doesn't belong to any teams yet. There's an owner's team that's like, I just clicked on teams here. There's an owner's team that's always kind of baked in. That's a special team that gives basically super admin permissions and also the ability to add users and manage teams and everything. So there's only kind of one owner here. This is Tongue itself. And I can add him to the owner user and give him super permissions too. That's what you want to do. But instead, what I'm going to do is actually create a new team just to show how this works. So I'm going to call the team dev. Okay, so there's a dev team now with 0 users. And click on that. Now I can add users to the team. Now I'm only at Tungaroo because that's the user with can be limited permissions. Okay, so now Tungaroo has now been added to the dev team. Now this dev team still has 0 permissions. So if I go clicking here, it says there's no permissions. So Tungaroo, even though he's part of the org and part of the dev team, since there's no permissions associated with the dev team, he has no permissions. So this is where it gets interesting. You can create and add permission here. I'm gonna call like dev team, okay? And the description, I'm just gonna stick to the same name just to keep it simple. It gets interesting because the way the Terraspace cloud permission system works is you can actually specify wildcards on project stacks, environments, and apps, okay? So it's a kind of very dynamic and flexible system in this sense. What I'm going to do is we're going to actually just use the environment here. So you can specify so only dev is allowed here. So Tungaroo, because he's part of this team, is only be allowed to deploy to dev environment, TSENV dev. Now, if you want multiple environments, you can always go dev prod. You could also, like, let's say you have sandbox or something, SBX. Sandbox or UAT, then you can just add it here, and then you can control finally how you want the permissions, okay? Now, I'm only giving permission for dev. For stacks, even though we're deploying a demo stack, I'm just gonna do a wildcard star to allow all stacks here. In projects, this is just if you really wanna limit the projects to, let's say, the main project, I'm just gonna do a star there too. And apps, this is only if you use TS underscore app. If you're using that feature, then you can specify the apps too. Let's say you basically have a bunch of stacks that are scoped to app, and that's kind of how you do that. The last part that's important here is access here. There's 3 access levels. There's read, which sounds exactly what it means. Read, you can only read basically stacks. You can't basically do Terraspace up. You can't do Terraspace down, okay? So read, it's that's what permissions, that's what that's gonna allow. It essentially allows you to create records, okay? Write will allow you to do Terraspace up and Terraspace down, or Terraform destroy or Terraform apply there, okay? So that's what that's about. And then the last one is admin. Admin is basically includes all the read and write permissions, of course, but also includes the permission to destroy the cloud stack. So destroying the cloud stack doesn't mean you destroy actual resources. It just means you destroy all the recordings or basically the plans and updates, okay? So admin is basically the full admin privileges for the scope to these variables, essentially environment here, okay? So I'm gonna do admin save permission. So that permission has been saved. You can go back to all permissions for this team. You can see the view right there. You can go back to team here. So basically, Tungaroo now has this one permission because he's part of the dev team. Permissions in Terraspace Cloud is all team-based, okay? So basically, you create these teams, you associate the permissions to the teams. Everything is basically controlled to the teams. Then you associate users to the teams. You don't ever associate permissions directly to user. You always associate permissions to a team and then users to the team, okay? So now I'm going to demonstrate how this kind of works. But first, for the Tungaroo here, I need an access token. So what I actually did was I went to settings and organizations essentially, and then I went to the organization he belongs to. So let's go settings, organizations, okay? And there's the demo now because he's a part of the org now, okay? Then you can go there and then you click on Oh, actually, well, that's just showing you he's part of the org. Okay, so for tokens, it's actually under settings, okay? And then it's under tokens here. So now we're gonna create a new token. So tokens are associated with users, okay? Okay, so here I'm gonna call it test token, generate token here, okay? And now I'm gonna copy this. You're only showing it one time, so make sure you grab it. If not, just delete it and create a new one. Okay, so now I'm gonna go to editor, okay? And I kind of have this editor right here with some tokens already. So these are previous test tokens here. This token is for Tungaroo, okay? And this token is our token I created already for Tung, okay? So this is the one that's owning. He's part of the owner team, and this one's the ones that limited permissions, okay? Permissions via the dev team, okay? Dev team. So this token I just created right here. This token I have pre-created. I'm gonna rotate all these tokens, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna comment that out and source only the first token right now. So on the left side, I'm gonna source the token. I'm under tilde environment TS token here. I'm gonna echo it just to make sure I have the right token here. 4KR. Okay, that's 4KR. That looks good. Okay. On this side, I'm gonna also source the token. Oh, except let me kind of comment out the token I want here. I want the tongue token here. So I want the stronger token. Okay. And then echo that, and it's like WXM. So that's good. So I have two different tokens. On the left-hand side, here in that terminal is Tungaroo, and the right-hand side is the super owner, okay? So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna look at some of this code right here. You can see I have pet1 and pet2, and I just had uncomment this out or added pet2 here. So when I do a plan here, we're gonna be able to see the pet2 plan, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and do that and go to Terraspace plan here. This is with the Tungaroo account. And you can see it's basically doing plan and basically creates the plan right here. We open up, okay? You can see that there's going to create the pet2. That's because I had previously kind of done it up on this. I'm just some of this stuff has already been deployed just so I can focus on kind of the permission system here. Now, here's the interesting thing. If I go back here and I go Terraspace env equals prod, okay? Remember, he only has access to dev. It's going to say, error, you are not authorized to perform this action. Double check your token and check with your admin, okay? Because basically Tungaroo does not have access to prod. He only has access to dev because the permission system. Let's kind of show you one more time right here. Permission system right here, dev right here. Okay, so it's very flexible in that sense here. Okay, now on the right hand side here, this is the super admin. Okay, so if I do a plan here with the same command, I don't want the token, but I want this command right here. And then maybe get rid of the leading space, and then I can do a plan with this token because this is the tongue user with the admin privileges. And guess what? Here it is. Here's the full plan right here. And you can kind of click on it, and you can look at it too. Now I can't look on this window because he doesn't have access. So you're not authorized here because this is Tungaroo. But if I were to copy this into the other browser I have open, Safari, where I'm logged in as tongue, then I have access to it, right? So basically, it's checked both. It's checked everywhere. The same permissions kind of check whether or not CLI or API call, okay, or what browser. But see, because I'm logging as tongue here, I can see this. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to. I'm going to click on stacks here. I can see both dev and prod here. But if you look over here on the regular Tungaroo user, I'm going to click on stacks here. You can see only dev. You see, he can't see prod because he has limited access. He can only see the stacks that he's allowed to see. Okay, so that's how it kind of works there. It's pretty fine grained into kind of control here. Now I really only started with this, and I kind of went and created the team there, and then I added the permission, then reviewed the permissions, and then we kind of created the token, and we kind of deploy there, and then we talked about how the owner's team is kind of special. All the documentations here I just kind of went through in the video and kind of focused on explaining kind of how the permission system, like you can limit environments, you can limit on a variety of different variables, which is actually quite interesting. And the permission system, I just want to say, was designed specifically for Terraspace because of the way Terraspace works. Terraspace works by simply compiling down or building a Terraform project, CDs into that folder and run Terraform, and then it runs Terraform apply, right? Since it kind of dynamically builds a Terraform project, like it's really nice that the permission system kind of allows for this flexibility of variables to control which environments, which stacks, which applications, which projects you're allowed to deploy to. So it's designed specifically with kind of that in mind. And last thing I kind of want to point out is when you're kind of messing around with this Terraspace cloud thing, you should probably know that if there are no changes by default, it's not going to actually create a Terraspace cloud record or a link, okay? That's just the default setting. This is all overridable. I'll kind of really quickly show you where that is overridable. It's under config here, and you could say cloud.record, so by default record only changes, but you could change this to all and record all changes here. I kind of like only recording changes because then it keeps the noise level down. We have enough noise in this world we live in. But okay, so that's how the permission system kind of works. It's all kind of documented right here. Hopefully this video is also helpful. Cheers.